Welcome, everyone. Pleasure to be joined by my colleagues. We'll be joined by the DCCC Chair, Susan Delbene, here shortly. Just so thrilled to be here with Vice Chair Ted Lieu in putting this conference together, and of course, Leader Jeffries, Whip Clark, and Assistant Leader Neguse. We could not do this without the support of the Democratic leadership team, and we feel all that support throughout our time here. In the first 7 weeks of the Trump administration, we have seen nothing but chaos, confusion, and corruption coming out of the White House. House Republicans have either stayed silent as their constituents get hurt or are voting to rip away health care for millions of Americans to pay for tax giveaways for billionaires. House Democrats have been united in standing up for Medicaid to keep health care more affordable. House Democrats have been united in honoring our veterans who have fallen victim to Elon Musk's reckless cuts at the VA healthcare system. We've been united in protecting Social Security, even as the President of the United States used his joint address to lay out the groundwork for cutting these benefits by lying to our country about the claims of 100-year-old beneficiaries. And all of us remain united in our overarching message to make Leader Jeffries, Speaker Jeffries, no later than next year. We're going to talk about all of this over the course of the next few days, and we're going to put the needs of the American people front and center in everything that we do. The economy that House Democrats helped build is in a freefall. In 2026, we need a Democratic House to protect the American people from the costly missteps of the Trump administration. With that, introduce Leader Jeffries.
Thank you, Chairman Aguilar and Vice Chair Lieu, for your leadership, for convening House Democrats, and for the manner in which you have presided over the House Democratic Caucus in such an effective way during these very challenging times. Donald Trump and House Republicans are crashing the American economy in real time and leading us toward a possible recession. Donald Trump and House Republicans promised that they would lower the high cost of living on day one. Costs aren't going down, they're going up. Inflation is going up. The stock market is going down. Consumer confidence is going down. Consumer spending is going down. The retirement security of the American people is going down, and it's all connected to the chaos, confusion, and corruption of the Trump administration and extreme MAGA Republicans. House Democrats remain united in the effort to protect Medicaid and the health care of the American people. We remain united as it relates to protecting Social Security and Medicare. House Democrats strongly opposed the reckless Republican spending bill that will hurt families, hurt seniors, and hurt veterans. House Democrats remain committed to building an affordable economy and driving down the high cost of living for everyday Americans. And House Democrats are united in our understanding that we must take back the majority next year with the fierce urgency of now. One of the members who has led us in such an extraordinary way, both as it relates to keeping Democrats together, as was the case yesterday, and of course, as it relates to the House Republican devastating budget resolution, is our dynamic whip, the Honorable Katherine Clark.
Thank you so much, Mr. Leader. And to Chairman Aguilar and Vice Chair Lieu, we are so grateful to you for once again organizing this opportunity to come together as Democrats. This is always a powerful opportunity and issues conference, but this year especially, we are really grateful because we have a lot to dig into, especially the last 24 hours have shown a stark illustration of what we're fighting to stop. A Republican Party that promised to put more money in the pockets of working people. They turned around and stole their money, stole from their own constituents, from their schools, their health care, their retirement, all to cut billionaire taxes and funnel corrupt contracts to Elon Musk. Just look at the split screen. People can't afford their rent. They can't afford eggs. And what is Trump doing? He is hawking luxury car brands of his biggest donor on the White House lawn. The same day, he is slashing the Department of Education in half, going after 180,000 teachers whose jobs depend on federal funding, 7.5 million special education teachers who get federal support, and the 90% of kids in this country who attend our public schools. And that's just the start. Yesterday's defunding bill is going to wreak havoc on working families. And once again, it's women and girls who will pay the heaviest price. The domestic violence survivors, they're voting to evict them. The overworked VA nurses, 84% of whom are women, who are either fired or being forced to take on even heavier workloads. The patients watching Republicans defund Alzheimer's disease, breast cancer, and maternal mortality research. The moms who are searching for affordable child care. Whether it's born out of cruelty, cowardice, or corruption, or all three, the GOP is hell-bent on making families at home unsafe. So we recognize these are brutal and scary times, but here's our message to the American people. The House Democrats stand with you. We are fighting alongside you. We are not going to let House Republicans get away with this crime spree. Every day, leaders from our caucus are holding the line, and especially a little preview, the extraordinary women who have joined our ranks this caucus that I hope you will come join me at 10:15 a.m. tomorrow to meet our freshman women. But in the meantime, I will turn it over to another remarkable leader, our field general and talented chair of the DPCC, Susan DelBene. What did I say?
DP.
Oh, she, you know, we have a lot of acronyms. One of those, the DCCC. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just a little over 2 months into their trifecta, House Republicans are well on their way to breaking the economy. Consumer confidence is evaporating. A new CNN poll today shows a majority of Americans disapprove of Trump's handling of the economy. A record high stock market has lost all its gains since January, and prices continue to rise at the grocery store, the gas pump, and the pharmacy counter. Affordability was the #1 issue for voters last election, but House Republicans have done nothing to lower prices. Promises were made, promises are broken. Their tariffs will raise prices and create massive uncertainty for businesses, small and large. A small business owner in my district recently told me he's already losing business. He's not sure if he can be competitive price-wise going forward. Just the uncertainty alone of whether tariffs will be there or not has caused him to lose business. And what's more, the stop and start and chaotic nature of these tariffs continues to be extremely harmful. It's easy to lose business. It's hard to get it back. And House Republicans seem fine with this. They dismiss the damage they're causing as a little disturbance. But when a farmer can't buy the fertilizer they need during planting season right now or export their crops, that's not a little disturbance. It's incredibly harmful to their business. And Republicans promise to support our businesses, our farmers, and our workers. But with these tariffs, they're doing exactly the opposite. House Democrats and the American people are going to hold Republicans accountable for their broken promises. And we're already seeing across the country people standing up and speaking out against their dangerous agenda. The public is opposed to their cuts to Medicaid. They're opposed to the mass layoffs of firefighters, of inspectors in charge of combating bird flu, of veterans who are supporting veterans at the Veterans Administration. House Republicans know how unpopular their agenda is, which is why vulnerable House Republicans have stopped holding in-person town halls. They can't, they can try to hide all they want, but they can't hide from voters forever. The frustration and anger we're seeing across the country should send a loud message to House Republicans. People are ready for a change, and they're ready to help House Democrats take back the gavels. So now I want to turn it over to our incredible vice chair from the great state of California, Ted Lieu.
Thank you, Susan. Good afternoon. Chairman Aguilar and I are excited about this year's Issues Conference. And let me start by thanking Leader Hakeem Jeffries, Whip Clark, and Chairman Aguilar for their strong leadership in unifying the Democratic Caucus against the Republican CR. That was a strong show of force yesterday by House Democrats. Donald Trump last week came to Congress and he lied to the American people. He promised a golden age. Instead, we're entering a Trump slump. We see that prices have increased, especially egg prices. We see the stock market is down approximately 2,500 points since Trump took office, and consumer sentiment is down. And this is because of his chaotic policies, such as indiscriminate tariffs, and then his weakness and indecisiveness in flip-flopping on those tariffs. That is causing a lot of chaos in the markets. He's also doing harmful things like cutting scientists and inspectors who work on bird flu. He's cutting funding for scientists who are working on diseases such as ALS, Alzheimer's, and cancer. And the American people are noticing. In January, Democrats flipped a state Senate seat in Iowa that Trump had won by 21 points. And just this week, in another special election in Iowa for a House delegate seat, our candidate overperformed by 24 points. And with our field general, Susan Delbene, we're going to flip the House next year. And I look forward to working with this entire leadership team in doing so. It's now my honor to introduce Joe Neguse, who has done a fantastic job as Assistant Democratic Leader.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to Chair Aguilar, Vice Chair Lieu for convening us, for the important conversations that will ensue over the next 2 days, and of course to Leader Jeffries, Whip Clark, and Chairwoman Delbene for their incredible leadership over the course of these last several years. There's a headline that I came across this morning that I think so well encapsulates the chaos and the dysfunction that we are living through and the precarious moment that we find ourselves in. From CBS News. And the headline is this: Lutnick says Trump's policies are, quote, worth it, even if they lead to a recession. The Lutnick, of course, that this article is referring to is President Trump's Commerce Secretary. Think about that for a second. That in his view, these reckless economic policies are worth it, even if they cause a recession. And it appears they will get their wish. As you heard Vice Chair Lieu, Chair Aguilar, Leader Jeffries, Whip Clark, Chairwoman Delbene describe the economic havoc that President Trump and his administration have created over just the course of these last 7 weeks. Stock market crashing, job losses piling up, 401ks vanishing, the prices for everyday goods going up across the board. Federal workers, folks at the Forest Service, wildland firefighters in my district back home in Colorado, purged from the federal government, agencies being dismantled. All of this has real-world consequences for the people that we are also privileged to serve here in the United States Congress. The time for the Trump administration to abandon these reckless policies is now. They warrant a decisive, comprehensive response from House Democrats, which is precisely what we've done for the better part of the last 7 weeks, and we look forward to having more discussions on our response in the days ahead. And with that, I'll turn it back to Chairman Aguilar.
Thank you, Joe. Questions? Brianna?
Question for all of you, but Mr. Leader, I know you said a couple weeks ago, what leverage do we have as Democrats in the minority? Obviously, you all exerted some kind of leverage yesterday, and you almost unanimously voted against. Is that the only point leverage that you guys foresee being able to use, and should Senate Democrats also use that leverage voting on this bill?
The leaders also talked about, look, there's a debt limit, there's future appropriations, discussions. There will be opportunities for us to show how united we are fighting for the American people. Susan DelBene came from a hearing where Ways and Means members were doing just that. Each and every day, we show we're united for everyday Americans. Now, we're going to continue to work with our members and talk about ideas and strategies on how we show that, how we demonstrate that. The leader will guide our efforts. But what you saw yesterday and what you saw in the budget reconciliation vote, where Catherine Clark and her whip team got every Democrat on board, shows and demonstrates exactly who we're fighting for and what our focus is. Mr. Leader.
That was a rhetorical question that I asked in response to a reckless charge from Speaker Mike Johnson that it was House Democrats who were determined to shut down the government. I'm not even sure why we're still on that point. After what we've seen repeatedly in terms of House Democrats standing firmly together to oppose the largest Medicaid cut in American history. Every single House Democrat. And Republicans are on the run all across America, which is why they have been ordered not to hold town hall meetings. House Democrats are doing the exact opposite. Next week, we will have a day of action all across America in support of Medicaid. And our members will continue to hold town hall meetings, engage with constituents, visit schools, hospitals, and nursing homes to make it clear that we're standing up for the American people. So we will continue to be united in our defense of everyday Americans, and Republicans are clearly united in bending the knee to Donald Trump and Elon Musk.
Should Senate Democrats also stay united like you will?
I don't know why anyone would support that bill. For the United States Senate, look, we're going to wait for the white smoke just like everybody else out of their lunch. But there is nothing in this bill that gives the certainty that the American public need. Cuts to veterans' health care, continued cuts for these agencies that are providing services from wildland firefighting to cancer research. Elon Musk and Donald Trump are systematically already shutting down the federal government. Why we would want any part of that, I have no idea. Over here.
Thank you. My question is actually for Chairwoman DelBene.
I'm happily going to give it to her.
Okay. I just wanted to
Sight
ask
unseen.
you about the map coming up in 2026 and your plan to expand these seats. I know that there's about 13 Democrats, I think, that are currently serving in districts won by President Trump. I think there's only 3 Republicans, including Brian Fitzpatrick, who overperforms in districts won by Harris. So how do the numbers add up for you? What's your strategy in terms of expanding your seats?
Well, you actually talked about part of it. One, we overperformed last cycle. We gained seats. We flipped 10 seats from red to blue, and we are 215, which puts us in an incredible position. So we need 3 more seats. As you said, we won also in Trump districts across the country, and I think given that was before the chaos and dysfunction that we've seen from the Republican Party already, just in 2 months, and the outrage that we've heard from the American people across the country. So we're going to hold them accountable. I think that folks want to see, and economic issues are top of mind. We're going to continue to recruit and have great candidates. That's one reason we won across the country, even in tough districts. You've got great candidates who are focused on the kitchen table issues of their districts and who are coming to Washington, D.C. to fight to get things done. And so we're going work hard. One, make sure we reelect all the great folks that we just brought into Congress, and two, recruit great candidates, focus on the issues of the American people, and hold Republicans accountable for the chaos they have. That's why we'll be successful next year, absolutely.
Michael, that's good.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Donald Trump has painted this picture of his first few weeks as cleaning up the mess that the Biden administration and Democratic control of Congress left behind. He has a powerful media ecosystem behind him that, you know, a lot of Americans really turn to for their news. How do you break through that information gap and help folks understand the things that you did in previous Congress, what you all will do if you were to get those gavel backs, given the fact that he has such control of such a powerful megaphone now that he's president again and has this big media ecosystem behind him?
Well, and we saw 99 minutes of lies in front of the American public. We're not trying to compete with that. We're trying to talk directly to the American people about our positive vision for the future, but it's based on data. The American people can see that Donald Trump was given an economy that was on the way up. We had come from the pandemic, worked our way through that, stock market, inflation going down, stock market going up. It's completely inverted now. Stock market crumbling, consumer confidence declining. That's the Donald Trump legacy. That's what Donald Trump's economy and his tariffs, on again, off again, all of that uncertainty, the American public, they may not follow every in and out, but they know that these guys are not fighting for them. And so I appreciate the DPCC and Leader Jeffries offering an opportunity for us to get our message out in a different format during the joint address to Congress. Collective eyeballs looking at content is something that we're all talking about now. We're doing different things. We're trying to reach more people to get our positive message about the country and what we stand for. Those are things that we can control and that we can do. We're not trying to compete with Donald Trump for that megaphone that he has with the conservative media apparatus behind him. We're trying to focus on the American people and to show them how we're fighting, what we're fighting for, and the importance of this moment. That's what this vote was about. We stood up for the American people, and we will, time and time again, have their interests in mind when we're voting to protect health care, to protect investments in life-saving medicine, all of those things House Democrats continue to do. Whip Clark? Okay. Last one. Nick?
I want to also ask about government funding. This was a tough vote for a lot of members. Senate, like you said, we're waiting on the light stuff right now. Would it have been helpful for your members to receive a clearer signal from the Senate on what Democrats were going to do there as they took this vote?
You're talking to the House Democratic leadership team. We control what's in front of us and our members. I'm so proud of our members continuing to listen to us, ask for guidance, ask for more information, wanting to get this vote right for their districts. The level of information that this team, that Leader Jeffries and Whip Clark were providing to our members, so people feel confident and so they understand the detail of this. This was not a clean CR. A clean CR, we voted for those. Those are 3 pages. You move a date around. This is 90 pages. Anomalies were pages 12 through 87. I mean, right? This is anything but clean, and House Democrats knew that, and so our unity was important. It was important because we keep hearing from the American people that they want us to push back against Donald Trump's chaos and extremism, and that's exactly what our vote was about. And I'll ask Whip Clark to.
Yeah, we'll go for it.
Yeah, just to add what our chairman already said, what we were faced with was really 2 prongs. One, we have a blank check to Doge, to keep on doging and taking a chainsaw to the very programs that American families are saying they want us to protect, whether that's their health care or veterans benefits or public schools. Social Security is, we have said repeatedly, if this CR protected Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, we would have voted for it. but they did just the opposite. And how do we know this is all part of the scheme of dismantling government, taking deserving taxpayer dollars and giving it to the billionaire class? Because Republicans told us so. You saw Freedom Caucus members coming out and saying, I am now going to support this CR after I have been told by the Trump administration this will be a path to further cuts and spending. That is a path to stealing taxpayer dollars. And that is why you saw that unity. And I think our unity of purpose is a clear sign of whose side we stand on. We're standing on the side of working families. And that's why our message to the Senate is also stand with us on that side. And we think that our vote gives the Senate the strength and the message they need to stand up as well.
5 days ago, House Democratic leadership, Catherine Clark, Pete Aguilar, myself, all of us came out strongly against the partisan Republican spending bill because we understood that it was not a continuing resolution that maintained existing spending levels. It was a right-wing extremist wish list that would hurt the American people. In the caucus meeting yesterday, we laid out 5 different reasons substantively why we were strongly opposed to this partisan Republican spending bill and why that position should be reflected on the House floor, as it was, in defense of the American people. The partisan Republican spending bill cut funding for veterans, cut funding for health care, and cut funding for nutritional assistance. It represented an across-the-board cut as it relates to non-defense discretionary funding important to the health, safety, and economic well-being of the American people. The partisan Republican spending bill was an attack on families, veterans, and seniors. The bill that was strongly opposed by House Democrats is a power grab that further unleashes and entrenches Elon Musk's efforts to take a chainsaw to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and the priorities of the American people. And there is an alternative for the senators, Democrats and Republicans, to consider. It's a 4-week, clean, continuing resolution that gives both the House and the Senate, Democrats and Republicans, the ability to try to reach an agreement that actually meets the needs of the country and does not hurt everyday Americans.
Sure. Vice Chair Lieu is going to answer though, but go ahead.
So, if the message is, you guys stand with the American people on their side, House Democrats did that, but if Senate Democrats support this, it's going to muddle that message. It's going to look like Democrats are divided on this thing. How are you going to make it clear to the American people that this isn't a Democrats divided narrative in Washington, that there's confusion here about how Democrats should act in this moment when I get to stand up against Trump?
House Democrats are very clear. We're asking Senate Democrats to vote no on this continuing resolution, which is not clean, and it makes cuts across the board, and it's going to be one of those things where people are going to look at this vote, and every bad thing that now happens with Doge and Donald Trump, Elon Musk, it can go back to this vote. So we're asking Senate Democrats to vote no.
Can you talk a little bit about did you have any conversations with Schumer about keeping the caucus together the way you did?
Our ongoing conversations with Senate Democrats, from the leadership all the way through the members of the Senate that we regularly work with, are continuing. The House Democratic position is crystal clear, as evidenced by the strong vote of opposition that we took yesterday on the House floor, opposing the Trump, Musk, Johnson reckless Republican spending bill.
Thank you. Appreciate it.